God, Dane is hilarious. But anyways, so we convinced him to drive us out to St. Louis, and oh no, it wasn't that time. Okay, no, this is what happened. So the qualifier for St. Louis happened in 2 phases. You show up to the first phase, and if you get top 8, you qualify for the final. And then you have to drive back out to the final, and the winner of the final goes to the national tournament finals. So we didn't have a ride. So what did we do? We thought of everyone at our school who owned a car. And we found about this guy named Clint, who we were friends with at the time. We tried to convince him to go out to this tournament. Like, yeah, man, come on, let's go out there. And we just convinced him, yeah, man, just 4 pool all your games. It'll be fine. You'll easily qualify. Not that many people will show up. So we had to drive out there, and it's like a 4-hour drive from our house. And we got pulled over by the cops because we tried to exit at this one thing. And then when they pulled us over, they open up the trunk, and there's all this computer equipment in there. There's all these mice and keyboards. We're like, no, we're going to a video game tournament. And he's like, it smells like pot in here. And we're like, no, we're actually just going to a video game tournament. We're nerds. We don't do anything that. We just want to play video games. So we get there, and our hotel got canceled. So we tried to sneak into a hotel room, but we got caught. And they were really nice. My brother's really tactful. He's like, look, we're just here for a video game tournament. We've been driving all night. We're really tired. Can we please sleep? And they're like, video game tournaments? And I had to spend a really long time explaining that to them. But finally we end up getting there for the tournament. And Clint 4 pools everyone, but screws up and loses. So of the 9 people that show up and the top 8 qualify, Clint gets 9th. Right? He didn't even play StarCraft, but he was pissed, man. And on the car ride home, he just blasted Insane Clown Posse for 4 hours. And we're like, Clint, can you please turn down the Insane Clown Posse so I don't lose my mind, right? And he's like, dude, look, I drove all the way out here. I just wanted to get top 8 in this tournament. And I just want to listen to some of my music. I didn't have a good trip, man. I got knocked out of the tournament. We're like, you don't even play this game, man. We were just hoping you'd have a good time, so we had to endure that. But eventually we went back. Since only one could qualify, I had to knock my brother out of that tournament. So I got first for there, and I flew out. And that's one of the worst things that has just been in my life of StarCraft. Is just, I hate that whenever there's a qualifier, my brother and I both have to go there, and there's just one spot, and only one of us can go. Because, that even happened a lot early on, with the WCGC stuff, World Cyber Games Challenge, that he had to be the one to take the spot because he would knock me out. So, moving on forward, 2003 was, I think, a really nice finals for me. I was a senior in high school. I just qualified over the summer. I was really excited for it. I went into school a week early. This was starting to be pretty big in my life, the fact that I actually played StarCraft a lot. I mean, it was a big pastime, but even the teachers at school knew that I'd done this tournament in 2001. And I went into the dean's office and I was like, I will be missing school for the first week because I'm going to a video game tournament. And he was like, no, you won't. I'm not letting you do that. And I was like, no, please, can I really, this is really important. He was like, no, totally not. And I'm still trying to work off the fact that I'm a little bit awkward and goofy back then, so I couldn't articulate it. And I just remember I left and I was really bummed. I mean, it's just, I was still this quieter person. I was just I was really bummed out. And I called my mom, and I was like, man, Mom, they're not going to let me do it. And she's like, what? She got, really pissed. She's like, they're what? And I'm like, I mean, they just won't let me do it. They said that they're not going to let me do it. I mean, they just say it's a video game. They're not going to let me, get excused absence for a video game. And my mom said, Sean, this isn't just some game you're going to go play. You're not going to go play Mario Kart out in LA for a fun week. This is something that you work on. I'll take care of this. So first of all, my mom referenced Mario Kart. I didn't know she knew that shit. Cool, Mom. All right. But all right, so she's gone for 15 minutes. I called her at work to let her know, but she came back for 15 minutes, and she gets back, and she's like, you're going, Sean. It's all taken care of. Don't worry about it. I took care of it. And I was like, okay. I was like, all right, man. And it's things like that that's just wow, thank you, Mom, right? And I mean, part of what was so helpful about actually getting to that stage is just that I treated StarCraft not as this goofy hobby that, was just some way that I would pass the time and not really mention. I thought it was so cool that I played it, and I would just always go down to my mom and just be like, Mom, it is so cool I do this, and I would try to convince her that it was cool. And that has been, in addition to, talking to my brother under the escalator as kids over at the mall, that act of making my mom understand, because I was just so excited, I wanted to share my excitement with her, the act of trying to articulate it in some clear fashion has been so helpful for me, because, a lot of the ways I learned to explain it to my mom back then, I've used throughout my whole life when trying to, make people get right to the point right away with StarCraft. 2003 tournament didn't go so well. I got knocked out. I would tell you the whole tournament experience, but it's very sad. And I've been going for 43 minutes now, and I'm at 2003, so I still have 7 years to go. But I got eliminated by a guy named Pyrrhus, who no one really knew of. And I played like an idiot, and I was like all embarrassed about it. But I got to meet a lot of cool people there as usual. I mean, the best part of going to any tournament is just that you get to see the people you've been chatting with. So, 2004 rolls along. This was like when I'm a freshman in college. It's actually the summer in between was the qualifiers, and it was weird because it was around this time that I'd actually stuck to the name Day9. I wanted a cool one-word name because there were players like Reach, Yellow, Boxer. It was like a word. And I was like, I'm going to do that. Day. All right. That was taken. So I had to think of something cool, and I always thought that the 9 clan was cool. 9 Everlast, 9 Kane. And since it wasn't really around, I was like, I guess I'll be 9. So I just put Day9 there in brackets. It's like, yeah. And somehow this guy named Paul got our aim. And he just like, and by our aim, I mean like my brother's aim and my aim. And he just like would message us constantly leading up to this WCG 2004. And it was weird because he would just like lie like incessantly. He would just make up all these stories about what he'd done in StarCraft and about all this stuff. But like for me, he told me he was like a 22-year-old, 250-pound ripped football player who had a football scholarship. And then he told my brother that he was like, a 16-year-old high school student who was into debate. It's just like completely nonsensical. And what was so funny is that, like, when we drove up to the WCG 2004 qualifiers that were in Chicago, he wanted to be picked up because he, like, wanted to go to this tournament as well, right? So he's like, no, I'm right by the tournament. Just come pick us up. He was 2 hours out of the way. We'd driven all night to get to Chicago, right? And then we had to drive 2 hours to, like, go get this guy. And when we get there, he comes out, and he's like 13, okay? And Nick and I look at each other and we're like, that's Paul? And I was like, I thought he was 22. And Nick's like, what? I thought he was 17. And apparently he was talking to my brother's girlfriend who had driven us up there. And she's like, no, I thought he was 19. And we're like, what? And this like 14-year-old comes up to our car and he's like, hey, what's up? I'm Paul, man. This is my dog. Isn't my dog cool? And this like dog comes out and we're just like, what the hell? Like, so it's just kind of like funny the way that these things actually start happening when you start transitioning over that border between interacting with people online and interacting with people in real life. I mean, he was one like humorous exception, but we like took him to this tournament anyways. And I remember this is when APM was big, people getting really into APM. So I tried to play really fast. And there was actually a question in the thread on Team Liquid about this, about whether I ever get nervous or get like sweaty or something like that. Oh my god, yes, for tournaments. Jesus, like I get like now I've sort of calmed down, but like in 2004 when I haven't even really done that much tournament wise, I just like sweat. And I remember I was playing and I could feel the sweat pouring down my face and pooling at my nose and dripping into my keyboard because I was like really far forward. And I checked my APM after that game. It was 412 in my first game because I was just like so nervous and jittery. Nonsensically high, was not nearly good enough to actually make use of that. All that it really did was just make me sweat like a lot. Just like I was like a sumo wrestler who'd been jumping rope in an attic or something. I was exhausted. So, despite driving all night, I managed to qualify for the finals. And I'm like, yes. And at this time, I started to be better friends with Froz at this point in time. And Froz he is the most influential